I'm going to share things in this video that to many people will seem pretty radical, but I'm hoping that this reaches the right audience. I'm hoping that it reaches the right people at the right time. And by the title, you obviously know what I'm going to be talking about, and that is that separation is an illusion, it's not real, and that we're actually all one. And I want to get into some of the actual practical components of this. I don't want to just talk about this as like some super abstract theory of how we're all one and we'll sing Kumbaya, but I actually want to give you an idea of what that really means, because it's far more profound than a lot of people most likely explain to you. So for this video, I'm going to ask that if you're not familiar with non-duality and spiritual enlightenment and all this stuff, I'm going to ask that you just have a very open mind. So separation isn't real. And this isn't something that you need to believe as like, a dogma or some kind of religion or theory of any kind whatsoever. This is something that you can become directly conscious of through your own awareness, through investigating your experience, through things like meditation retreats, self-inquiry. You can actually deconstruct your ego, your sense of self, your identity, so that you can see reality clearly. You are always filtering reality through the lens of your own ego. Reality, another way of saying that is that reality is always filtered through your identity. You're always looking for what is valuable for you, what you can use to survive, basically. That's like the rock bottom of it. Food, information, people, jobs, money, etc. You're looking for just things that can help you to survive, which there's nothing wrong with. The difference, though, is that survival value and truth are different things. These are not the same things. And most of humanity is at a level of consciousness where they can't genuinely value truth. What most people call truth is actually just their survival agenda. What most people call truth is really just their limited perspective. What is true doesn't need any fighting or debate or anything like this. What is true just exists. What is true is what is actual. If something is true, you can become directly aware of it. You don't have to believe anyone. It's something that you can become conscious of for yourself. And if there's anyone who's telling you that this is true, but you can't become conscious of it, you can't ground it in your own experience, it's impossible. Don't listen to that person. They're selling you some good BS. So when I say that separation is an illusion, I don't want you to take it on as like the new religion or whatever the hell. I want you to understand that this is something that you can become aware of. So let's talk about some of the practical things. You see me in this video. So right now, your mind can have a story of, that's Lucas shooting a video and you put it on YouTube for me to listen. And language operates in a dualistic way. It creates categories of self and other, this and that. Basically a whole bunch of categories so that we can navigate the world and survive. Once again, it's the difference between survival value and truth. And there's nothing wrong with survival value. It's good, right? It's useful for navigating the world so that we can survive. But survival value doesn't have any real existential basis. It's not grounded in the nature of reality at all. It's grounded in the constructs of your own mind. It's grounded in fiction. It's grounded in storytelling. It's grounded in your ideas of reality, not direct consciousness, not what reality is at the fundamental level. So you have the story of Lucas is filming this YouTube video. Okay? And you're not Lucas. When in actuality, you are literally me. And I am literally you. That's one of the biggest points that you can take away from this. Is that every single thing, human and possibility, that exists isn't something that you are separate from. It's something that you are in a unity with, you are completely one with. And really, what you are fundamentally isn't a body. It's not your job, whatever your occupation is, an actor, a musician, a teacher, a professor, a psychologist, doctor, a therapist, whatever. It's not that. It's not a thought. It's none of this relative stuff. What you are is existence itself. How can you be anything other than existence itself? Whatever is true about the nature of reality is true about you because you are reality. You are this. Are you anything other than existence? How can you be something other than existence? Whatever is true about the nature of reality is true about you by definition because your existence. So we can make a distinction here between your ego or yourself or your identity, right? Your relative identity that we use in the conventional world versus who and what you are at the fundamental level of existence. These are distinct things. Your ego is kind of just like a game that you play. It's a game that we all play, really. We don't even know that we're playing it. And we basically do it to survive and to navigate reality to get what we want. We form certain categories of reality between what is food, what isn't food, what is valuable, what isn't valuable, who can I have sex with, who, can I not have sex with, who and what can I not have sex with. And we form certain boundaries and ways of being that help our ego to get what it wants. And once again, nothing wrong with that. I do this, you do this, this is the game that we're all playing. This is perfectly okay as long as, what you're doing is sustainable and not directly harming people, and in many cases it is. That's a topic for another video. Most jobs, for example, harm quite a lot of people. So we can distinguish between your relative self, your ego, your identity, and in my case that would be Lucas, coach, YouTuber. And then we can make a distinction between your absolute self, your eternal nature, consciousness, the nature of reality, what you fundamentally are, what you truly are beyond concepts. Because when I ask you to define yourself and who and what you are, what you do is you go into your mind. You go into thoughts, you go into your stories about reality, you go into storytelling and imagination. And none of that is actual. What next to no one really understands is that their stories and everything that their mind constructs about reality isn't reality itself. Your mind constructs a map of reality so that it can navigate it in order to get what it needs to survive. It's again survival value. But your mind does not grasp reality directly. It doesn't get what reality is for real. It gets what it is in terms of survival and just what it can manipulate, but it doesn't understand the nature of existence. It's not concerned with that, most likely because you haven't raised your consciousness enough to even care about that. So again, we can make this distinction between the relative self and then what you absolutely are. And what you absolutely are, I cannot share with you. Because it's not a thought, it's not an idea, it's not an image, it's not a form, it's not a message that I can convey in a video. Who and what you actually are is something that you have to become conscious of for yourself. And I'm going to list a whole bunch of words here that point you to who and what you actually are. But don't mistake the words that I say for who and what you actually are. This requires direct consciousness. And in many cases, quite a while, quite a good chunk of your time. Like you need to devote your life really to what is true. And unless you've done that, you're going to be left with delusion. So who are you? Aside from the ego and aside from every story that you tell yourself. Right? And I'm going to be telling you this in the form of ideas, so because I have no other way to communicate. This is just how life is. Who and what you are isn't made of anything. There's no substance that you're actually made out of. There's no substance that this experience is actually made out of. Who and what you are is an infinite and boundless field of consciousness. It's completely eternal. It exists beyond space and time. Space and time are things that your mind projects in order to survive. These are perceptions that have evolved over time, that have helped us to survive, but are ultimately an illusion. And I understand that you can think that what I said is very contradictory, like it evolved over time and, I'm just saying that there's no time, right? Isn't this an illusion? Or isn't this a contradiction? But actually, no, these things can exist simultaneously. Because who and what you are has no limitation. It allows paradox, it allows contradiction, it allows multiple perspectives that seemingly oppose each other to be true at the same time. So embracing the paradox is really the route to go here. The paradox that time is an illusion, but within human existence, conventional, ordinary reality, we can say that, it also exists. So again, we can make this distinction between your relative self, your ego, your identity, and who and what you actually are. And on the conventional level, your identity is true, the one that you take yourself to be every single day. I'm Matthew or John or Sarah, and I am a teacher and a husband or a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, and this, and I'm an American, a Canadian, a German person, English person, Australian, whatever. That's true on the relative level. But what I'm saying is that all of that stuff, number one, is a story. Where does it come from? It's coming from your own imagination. It's coming from your own thoughts, which you confuse for reality, for the actual existence that you're experiencing. And that all that stuff doesn't have any existential basis. All of the boundaries and the dualities and the categories that construct all these things is ultimately an illusion. It's constructs of our own mind. There's no boundary separating any single thing. So you, and everything you see in this experience is you. I am you. You are quite literally me. And we share the same one consciousness. Albert Einstein has the fantastic quote, separation is an optical delusion. Max Planck, and he regards consciousness as fundamental. Erwin Schrödinger, there's only one mind. Right, all those classic quantum physicists, big into mysticism and have all sorts of quotes. You can even read Erwin Schrödinger's book, My View of the World, I believe it's called, where he talks about abandoning duality and just non-duality. Really good. And once again, you don't have to believe anything anyone says. You don't have to believe Einstein, Schrödinger, me, anyone. A Hindu sage, Ramana Maharshi, Eckhart Tolle, Rupert Spira, Mooji. You don't have to believe any of these people. You can become conscious of it. And if you don't want to, that's also perfectly okay. But if you really value what's true, if this is really your core value, you'll find yourself wanting to become conscious. You don't have to believe what the Buddha said about enlightenment and impermanence and suffering. You can become aware of it for yourself. You don't have to believe Jesus when he says the Father and I are one. You can become aware of it for yourself. And really, all the major religions are pointing, in a sense, to the same thing. And the reason why I say in a sense is because they can be pointing to different aspects of the same thing. A lot of Buddhists like to point to the empty nature of reality, no self. A lot of Hinduism can point to the true self. Christianity can point to love a lot, and it's almost like a diamond. You know how a diamond has many facets, and regardless of what facet you look at on a diamond, you're still looking at the one diamond. So different religions and different insights can point to different facets on this one diamond, but we're ultimately looking at the one thing, which is what is absolute about reality. Christianity also points to the whole God notion quite a lot. It points to how the universe is actually intelligent and alive. And that the universe is more like a mind, rather than some physical 3D world existing, in time, in space and time. But it's a conscious entity. And the part that really, trips people up is that everything I'm saying in this video is something that you can become conscious of. And your mind easily comes up with all these random theories about like the brain and consciousness and time and evolution, and it'll construct so many random narratives that have nothing to do with this experience whatsoever, and it'll start associating all these complicated things with this experience. And on the relative, a lot of this is okay, right? The relationship between, let's say, like awareness and the brain, worth exploring. Explore it. The relationship between, consciousness and evolution, explore it. But when it comes to what this experience is fundamentally, how can it ever be a theory when reality by definition is not a theory? See, that's the whole malfunction of the human mind, is that we have such a magnificent mind, but it deludes itself habitually in order to survive. The mind isn't wired for truth, it's wired for survival. There's the golden rule of treat everyone the way that you want to be treated, but then there's the real golden rule, which is survival. This is really one of the core values of every single human being. They don't really want to admit it, though. And all this survival-related stuff is the exact reason why you aren't conscious of what I'm saying in this video. So every theory that you have of reality is a construct, something that you make. It's not existentially true. And certain theories can reflect reality more accurately than others, but what reality fundamentally is will never be put into any sort of conceptual system, a mathematical equation, anything, a philosophy. The best thing that a philosophy can do is very blatantly point out that it is not the full truth, and that it is merely pointing to something beyond itself, something for you to grasp directly. So everyone in your life, your mom, your dad, brother, sister, the person you hate across the street, that guy who cut you off in traffic, the people who you hate the most wicked people, the most blessed saints of all time, you're one with all of them. They are quite literally you. I want you to find the boundary that separates you from your coffee table. And then I want you to send me a picture of it. I want you to look at it through a microscope. Thing is, you'll never find it because it's not there. And because our minds are so habitually lost in survival, a lot of the things I say in this video, you just zone them out. Or, say they're crazy, or whatever. Because if you don't find it useful for serving your agenda, or, if you don't find it useful to your agenda, dismiss it. This is what you do with everything that you don't find useful for your agenda. Nothing wrong with that. Just be aware. Just notice what it is that your mind's actually doing. And really be honest about it. Because if you really value truth, then what you're ultimately talking about is being aware of what the nature of reality is. So we just habitually delude ourselves, and we use each other and this whole social matrix to remain in delusion and just avoid the fact that we're God. or that we're the source of creation, or the divine, consciousness, awareness, the non-dual, the one. Whatever kind of label you want to be giving it. And it's starting to rain, so I gotta get out of here soon. And really in this video, what I'm saying is that you don't have to believe anyone when it comes to what's true. And if you believe people, that is the exact thing that is preventing you from getting what is true. It's actually your beliefs that prevent you from getting what is really true. And when you get into this work and, the whole deconstructing the ego and reality and consciousness, all that mumbo jumbo, when you get really advanced into it, you begin to actually appreciate the illusion of self. Because without it, life would be pretty boring. Life wouldn't be very fun. If we were not seriously deluded about the nature of existence, we would just all get enlightened. And there's really only one being to get enlightened, and that's consciousness. Consciousness just wakes up to itself. Consciousness just divides itself and kind of fractures itself off from itself in the form of you, in the form of a separate, seemingly separate human. And that seemingly separate human looks for happiness in external things, and relationships, and sex, and money, and achievements, and approval, and validation, and it suffers, and it doesn't really know why, and it just has no idea. And all that stuff is fine. Once again, all that stuff is fine. But it deludes itself. The human being deludes itself into thinking that external things are going to fix this very core issue within its own worldview, within its own awareness, within its own psyche. So I encourage you to become more interested in what is true about the nature of your own existence. And I promise you that it's worth it. But you don't have to if you don't want to. That's it for this video. I'm offering one-to-one coaching. You can apply for a free discovery call. Link is in the description and the pinned comment. Take it easy.